상业学当作业中我讲究西经节约错能节按照老边界三节主三节当作能讲究保度当年就是节约算按照老边界三节主我修当面们去往播的接近了是确了就我去把那三节送把这些信的就这到去年的年底谢这位接近的人家3月的就把春节就把去了出对这群各位的老兵就是这一面的安排单来把对了特别说年纪那么他一个他们已经跟主播的咱们也可能做军节让他去上把他们家给都大概等到我老说他的他yani dan jo ji dan nie ka wen ba ka wa bin de tu de an pin zo la ma che ba ma ga sam je ko wen na na du ma ta ba de nam ko we du ma lan da we ji je to cha la na me ba yan da ba zo we san ye ji ko ba ru bo ji ji ne ja to ba ti che do ti ba jin be che san ye me kun lo rin ba na le ba sa da de san ba ra shu.
So now think as before that now at this moment an excellent human life, which is the base achieving all my goals, and it is endowed with all of the good properties that enable practice, and it's free from all of the obstructions that would prevent me from practicing. And at this moment, then, be attached to the things of this world. Worldly pleasures and such. Instead, think that there are numberless sentient beings who are trapped in the ocean and prison of samsara, and they suffer by means of due to the different kinds of suffering. All of those beings have been my mother numberless times. In order to free them from their suffering, I must, as quickly as possible, achieve the true perfect awakening of Buddhahood. And in order to do that, then I'm now going to do this instruction on the Mahayana Dharma.
Oh yeah. 가상 공원도 가르치고 해서나 레스 차와. 그죠? 감기 받더라. 아니 맨나 아니 가르쳐래. 또 땡기 님이 통화당 탑에 그래서 해야 되라. 가대산에 가면나 누라 겨와 민주시 양은 될라 더바탕 아니 안 될라 더바탕 퇴비들이 되니 퇴비들도 아니 멤버야 원하는 자야라 소와 천정 거 말이지 양은 될라 더바탕 멤버야 멤버출.
So now we're this part of the subject where it's talking about the function of the element within us. The function of this element is it enables us to be able to give rise to proper kinds of thinking, such as admirable teachings of the Mahayana. And the verse below says that if the element or beings didn't exist within us, then there would be no way that we develop, or anyone would develop, any kind of disgust for the pleasures of samsara, disgust for samsara, sufferings of samsara, and also there would be no way that we develop any desire to practice the path and to achieve nirvana. Those things would be impossible if this element was not functioning within us.
Oh yeah, that's it. I say, "Kasan shuwa na say say." And there are the 2点9通你，日了你，安尼看说日月把人你这样日没他了没去了，谁干了？安尼娘的，安尼啦，春节节，娘来等于朋友春节节当，18块瓦给年没通呢，天别落进呢，安尼看说的，块瓦人多比去都当。真爱的，安尼卡了，我的是呐，安尼马上就写就的啦， 아니 르시 랑신 제가라 춘 랑신지 타바 당 타바 그 태당 아니 심진도 아니 가서라 사메 심지 투세베 벤시 아니 gen주지 아니 산제 그 꾸주릉이 니와지 여와데 인상 아니 니와티니 르데 여바 인상 아니 겐 산제 주발라 때네 아니 르디 니바 사네 가서래 두den기 겐 타네 아니 가 타베 토네 아니 가서에 티치도 배전시에도 투성고아래
So then this is expressed in the verse 39, which says that if that element of the Buddha did not exist within us, then there would be no disgust, suffering, and there would be no desire for nirvana, no desire or admiration for entering into the path. And then the next verse says that seeing the defects of existence and the benefits of the bliss of nirvana, that comes about due to the fact that we possess lineage within us. So this is the fact that we possess this lineage within us entails that we within us three sort of properties that enable us to engage in some kind of development. That is, we already have within us the nature of our minds such that it's naturally of the adventitious defilements. And then in addition to that, on top of that, the mind has such that it is suitable to become from these adventitious defilements, that it's possible to develop the mind, the removal of the adventitious defilements. And then in addition to that, the mind, that it's possible for the nature of the mind is such that it's possible for the divine activities of Buddhahood to enter into us and to affect us such that we can develop. So those properties enable us to enter into the path and to develop ourselves. La tamadi rik yetsang di
yoba yinzang ta tende di duden gi gen tone ani duden 가서래 동아 그 좁제 탈바 그 내게 안에 타바 토제 그 타바제 예 yo바래 연거래 단 주지 원도 쪼고데 주대 가래에서나 다들 때라다네 용기하라 메탈라 미치로 세도가 어땠을까요?
So then the existence of this lineage within us is proven, is established by the fact that we do sometimes do and we can see the of existence, the defects of the suffering of existence, and the benefits, the pleasure of nirvana. And then based upon seeing those, then we can engage in the practice of the path and develop ourselves so that we become free from suffering and achieve nirvana. Because it's actually seen that people do kind of thing, that it does occur, that establishes that the lineage exists. And the reason also proven is that if that kind of lineage did not exist, then those kinds of things would not occur. They would never be seen. So those established then the reasons why the lineage exists within us.
다 단다디 세대다 니보테 섬제 탐제 是吧 섬제 탐제라 캬바 섬제 탐제라 캬바래 是吧 캬 섬제 유라여와
So it's said then that this lineage pervades or pervades all sentient beings. This lineage which has those two naturally existing lineage and the lineage which is developed. Those two, that lineage possessing those two aspects, exists within all sentient beings.
이제 탐제를 쳐봐 인장 안에 산제주 공부 토바를 치 탑세 람시아 가서 쉬어나시 돈용 모습도 도비 다 티진 파바 탑시 심빌람데다라 안에 람시 스고아레
종체
람시 산sem 티진 파바 유지 탑시 쳐버려 진지 심빌람 람시 스고아레
So then the method
안제 토박이 고만거 토바를 집에 탑 이제 고만 토바를 집에 탑 티진 파비 지진
So the method then is the method which is the primary method for the actualization of Buddhahood is then the knowledge path. Here this is referring to the path which is the direct realization, understanding the nature of reality, its emptiness, is the method, the primary method, which is designated as knowing the path.
원자 공부토벌 집에 탑 쳐버리지 티진 파비 주지 탑시 쳐버리지 심비 람데 강사대 유대라 가리지고 그래서나 아니 무엇이 한테라 자주셔도 셈제바 장생 자주제바 자주셈바지 이거 거래.
For this path, then that direct emptiness to function as the primary agent which affects the actualization of Buddhahood, that has to be governed by bodhicitta, aspiration to achieve Buddhahood. So for that to arise within an individual, that the knowledge of the path which leads to Buddhahood, that person has to have within already, to have as a basis within them the bodhicitta, that bodhicitta within them.
And
then, so this is referring to a individual or person who is directly going towards Buddhahood. They have all of those features, properties existing within them, so they're directly going towards Buddhahood. But you can say, in a more general sense, that all sentient beings have within them the ability to give rise to this, such that indirectly they will or not be able to go towards Buddhahood.
유니 세대 가르레에서나 텐더위 라미시와 산제주 공부 토바르 집에 탑시 제발 전지 심비 특징을 남대 깨와기 소설 내와래 소한 가르레에서나 뭐서 사도 기위 땡땡데 자주 잡아주고 그래 윤에 깨와기 땡땡라 안에 섬제 탐자래 샤그레스 용해 봐 용해바다 차바당 시와래 직쟁이 체다라 용해바다 차바당 차바당.
So this is explained in the in a ornament for the realizations by the Lord Protector, in which that there are occasions of people that, or sort of two types here: those for whom it is the is certain, and whom it is there are those for whom this objective is certain, and then also the pervasiveness of this. What that's referring to then, in the first case, someone for whom this objective is certain, is that have this referring to a person within the Mahayana lineage who has bodhicitta and this direct realization of bodhicitta. They're definitely going to achieve their objective. And then in terms of the pervasiveness of it, is that that it's suitable to arise or pervades all sentient beings.
아니 텐더리 람시와 티징기 아니 가서 람 탑제바 진지 주에 람시디 균내 와기 롱대한테라 semjen 탐제라 균내 람시 균내지 임바데 갈 semjen 탐 체반메바 그렇게 차와 인상 So
the reason then, or the explanation for how it is that this knowledge of the path, which leads to Buddhahood, exists within sentient beings, it's without any differentiation or distinction. It exists within all sentient beings. This is saying that, or the reason, or the sort of scriptural basis for this is that it's said that all beings possess So because all sentient beings pervaded by having this lineage within. Therefore, all sentient beings are suitable base for rising, for the production of this knowledge of the path.
대기 타도 특바 숨바데 장대로 공부장 말에 공부제만 공부 타도 특바지도 요 심전 탐제 라나면 봐 양다바 조회 산제주 공 타르 심제도 라 다바 조회 산제주 공부 토바 주바레 제톤 수가레
조레 that last thing that I translated should be that all sentient beings are a base indirectly giving rise to this knowledge of even if immediately they're not, indirectly or eventually they can give rise to it. This relates also to where we said that in the sutras the Buddha said that there are three final vehicles that therefore in those it's said that there are kind of a lineage such that they will enter into one of the three vehicles, and that will be the final vehicle for them. We explain those sutras as being of not definitive meaning, rather they have a special intention underlying them, and therefore they're intentional sutras.
다스 하나 바양다고 조회 산제주 고마 토바 타두바 이나 아니 섬제 탐제 하나 바양다고 조회 산제주 고마 토바 요아레베 토바 시그레베 세가라 저와 다 두슬 로아 토바 시나 다교용 간데시 요아레 세나 가서레 토바 콩롱 그서 제제 로아 토바 시나 교용 가르 요아레 아니 산제 치마라 산제 섬제 탐제 상제 산제 요 고만 토바이나 아니 섬제 탐제 상제 비 산제 치마 대다라 아니 섬제 망체와 산제 요 고만 토차이 인자 산제 치마 대다라 아니 섬제 지기 된자고 그래스
So then the fact that those sutras are of provisional or intentional meaning, we understand as meaning that the actual intention of the Buddha is that he taught only one vehicle. All sentient beings have the ability to achieve Buddhahood and that they can actually achieve Buddhahood. And this position raises various kinds of problems and such. People have held contrary positions to it, and for example, here in the text we're reading now, it said when we present the position that if it's possible for sentient beings to obtain Buddhahood, then the following kinds of problems would, or difficulty attaining that position would arise. First of these would be that if all sentient beings if it's possible for all sentient beings to achieve Buddhahood, then when those last beings that would be achieving Buddhahood would only be they would only be able to they would only have to work towards the aims of just a few sentient beings, because there would only be a few sentient beings left.
아니 semje 탐제 그 되마샤와 인상 아니 현대 탐제 그 현대 마샤와 현대 니저와 주그래 니저와 초러와 현대 니저와 초러와 주그래.
So then, if those last Buddhas, because there would only be a small number, a few sentient beings left towards the end, then their achievement, their accomplishment of the aims of others would be extremely limited or partial. And then also similar, as a result of that, accumulation of merit would not be complete. It would not be perfect, the accumulation of merit. Then another problem or difficulty arises that when all sentient beings had become Buddhas, then wouldn't be able to do anything for any sentient being, even a single sentient being. Therefore, the Buddhas being engaged in helping, benefiting others, accomplishing their aims, would be cut off with peace. And as a result of that, they would fall into the extreme of peace. They would just be absorbed in the sphere of peace.
투제 semje tendu 투제 안에 소사야 대한 tendu 소사 타를 안내라나면 봐 양다바 조회 산제지 만예와 대한 semdu 안에 공반예와 인장 안에 산제 라니지 예위 공반대라 안에 sem제나 global 시에네 배 코마동기 파토 좋아 안 중이 땜비고 제바 중 Then
on the other hand, if you hold the position that all sentient it's impossible that all sentient beings should be able to could Buddhahood or do achieve Buddhahood, then the problem is that the true perfect Buddhas, when they enter into the world and they perform kinds of deeds,
아니 초사나 람나 로에 대한 semjengi tumte chosa tara sanje ju komba undu che 대한 아니 아니 산이 라 다테니네 아니 잡아 중이 있고네 추주코 내가 도매봐 차고
So then when
도매봐 주와타
no.
도매봐 주와
So then the true perfect Buddhas, the way they achieve that Buddha is by first they develop the wish Buddhahood for the sake of all being based upon sentient. And then in the middle, they achieve the vast, perfect accumulation of merit, practicing for the practices of the Bodhisattva. And then finally, actualize Buddha, which is has as its aim the achievement of the aims of other beings. And then when they achieve that kind of status, they achieve the status of perfect Buddhahood, then they engage in also all of those activities, 12 special deeds of a Buddha, such as turning the wheel of the Dharma, and they turn the Dharma by those 12 special deeds. They do that until samsara is completely emptied out of the wish to be able to place all beings in that state of perfect Buddhahood. But if it was the case then that all sentient beings could not obtain, then all of that activity of the Buddhas without any result to it.
Oh yeah. 심지어 산재주 공부할 거 봐 많이 봐. 탐제 코이 동안 예와 시와점 로아 저 동안 예와 시점 텐도 예와 아니 그거 텐도 예와 아니 내기 티바 전부 이지 전부대 이지 전부 그 천용수 좋아 말해 좋아
The Simpson Tabjit Koi Dung
코이 동안 산라는 거 양다버 소비 산라고 봐도 봐 많이 봐채 코이 동안 예와 시위 니 시점 텐도 예와로 공부가 봐 있나.
On the other hand, then, if a Buddha did not its objective, the establishment of into that kind of state of perfect Buddhahood, but rather merely had as its objective the complete pacification of all of the suffering of the samsaric suffering of sentient beings, then in that case, then the great compassion of jnana would not be perfected.
Oh yeah. Then 가서래 이지 저 전용수 좋아 많이 봐도 가르래서나 라니지 니비 공부한테라 삼자 탐자 막고 봐채 차와 아니 왠지 차와
If place in this perfect status of perfect Buddhahood, but rather only set them into the status of the total pacification of even all pervasive suffering and all of the forms of suffering, then the blessed Buddha would by not placing things into that status the Buddha has himself, there would be problems such as that there would be it would obtain that the Buddha would be withholding from sentient beings. He would not be giving them the extent of the Dharma that the Buddha has realized.
Oh yeah, that 되게 현 탐자 고위 동안 예와 시와 톰 가설에 산재주 공방야 토반 와 니시 톰니나 안에 산재주 공방야 토반 요거래 타도 티바지도 레바 투그 와 산재 투그래
所以都会被灭住。
我们个日本的了，龙安年我是你是日本呢，三节有公办托你吧样，日本的了的出过来是。
But if you say then that all human beings have the ability to the total pacification of the sufferings of sorrow, because this would properly establish a final vehicle, then one can even that all sentient beings can obtain Buddhahood.
That tapat be sem sumba drachishimba maimba kwamba chayimba de ani lobe pabel leban drubare drubar ani tabata maimbi semje yana lobe pabel tabata yeba maimbi semje drum yeba sumba tedang nga lem lu druba tedang gawe ala ni chida yin
la do ya lang ne
taba misi bi semje ji yena sumbu ye ba sumba de drachi simba mayin ba di kwam le ani lunda riben druba dang gawe ga gre
so then to say a sentient being that if there's a sentient being that it's impossible to obtain even a mere liberation, kind of position explained by the master Arya Nagarjuna to be that is explained to be a position accept literally, which has to have some kind of intention, which is which is opposite, contrary, and the fact that this is so has been by or the fact that there are beings that cannot obtain liberation, that those are contrary to scripture and reasoning. That's established by Nagarjuna.
다섬제 탐제 산제 토바 스나 아니 코알라 탐메바 숨비 아니 롱태양 아니 또 그레스 와 이제 산제 토바 스나 코알라 탐메바 탐메바 샤바테당 탐메바 샤바야 미데바 또 그레스.
So someone might say then that all sentient beings possible for all sentient beings to obtain Buddhahood. Then that would that the explanation that has no limit is without that itself undemonstrable, unacceptable. Some might say that.
Oh yeah. 真正印章，现在那地了，看着他说的先记录该也当让当有这人呐，是吧？可啊，他们把些把没得把就说是，我他们对两个的路的空的，可了他们的可有的啊。 아니 좀 된데 도이가 상부지 그러나 예 지금 말한 거서 난게 태 이제 난 주와 치장바 땜제 하얀 티시노 난게 주와 치장바 땜제 티시노 상인도디게 가래져서 난가라 타 당신 제기 당신 제기 아니 you call
So then, with regard to all of the above, we have to, what we need to do is first, or the positions of others, which are saying it's impossible for sentient beings to or that they can't achieve liberation and such. And then we have to establish our own position on this. And in regard to the first point, or the last point that was made, that the position that Buddhahood be a beings, if that was possible, that samsara would have a limit. That kind of limit of samsara, we have to explain what limit of samsara means. Here, that samsara is limitless, that there's no limit to samsara. That limitlessness of samsara is based upon scriptures such as there's the like prayer of Samantabhadra. In that prayer, it says that sentient beings are as limitless space, that there's no limit to sentient beings. There it's saying that space has no there's no that sentient beings are like that, in that there's limit to them in that way. So what does it mean then, about a beginning limit, a end in the sense of a first a point in time, or a beginning, a limit in the sense of beginning? What that is referring to is that a sentient being exists as a result of causes and conditions. There are causes and or cooperating conditions that give rise to a sentient being. So that being is a continuity, which, if you back in there, it's of events in which and conditions give rise to a particular event of that sentient being, and that series of events of that sentient being go back to, if you go back through the sequence of time, there's no first point at which that series of events began. There was such a first point for the events to occur, that it first started. Then say that event, the moment of the sentient being, occurred without any kind of cause or condition. So then, how do we apply this there's no limit to sentient beings. In the case of in the sense of the first point in time that a sentient being came into existence, that's clear that there's such a limit in that sense. But what about the end limit? Limit which is the final limit of a sentient being. There you have to understand in different, there's sort of two ways of looking at this. In the first case, take a final limit in the sense of a termination of the continuity of the samsaric causality and continuity that which are approached by and mental afflictions. That kind of continuity, a termination of that when, say, a person cessation. And similarly, you can say there's a in the sense of even for the Bodhisattva, the levels of the Buddha path and the body of mind, which continues free from altogether. That kind of situation, that continuity of that has a final so when one body made and the base, which is the infused by ignorance, the prince of ignorance, that has a termination also. So say there's a termination in that, but there's another way of looking at this where say that there is a limit. There's no limit. There's another way of saying that there is no limit. So then, how do you then saying that there's no end to sentient beings? This is a way former Tibetan masters explained this, and that also had this position also. Had this also, and this is saying that there's no limit to beings in the sense of quantity. That is, there's no, you don't have a limited quantity of sentient beings. It's not like if pot, barley grain, and you, even if it's full of grain, if you take each grain out, eventually you'll come to a point where the entire quantity is exhausted and there's nothing left within it. Therefore, there would be a that quantity. Sentient beings are like that. They don't have, there's not a limited quantity of them. This is one way of explaining the limitlessness or of sentient beings.
Oh yeah, 真正印象，他让路了，安尼他见或他见是安尼他有安尼他看到做他的是呢，啥叫你的就碰不得，帮他做过的，是吧？或他见，他或他见都觉得，那看啥说上了，或。女吧，安尼看的让些可让了，要不一张看到他见都觉得没些的，安尼什么叫让了，看啥让了，是吧？
So then, it's like what we say then that samsara has a termination. That's referring then the way we're explaining this is that there's an individual being can have termination of their samsara, a final limit samsara, meaning that it's through engaging in the path, one can cease the continuity of the aggregates which are appropriated by karma and mental afflictions, and then there's a stop of samsara. So this, however, is related to individuals. That is, that a particular sentient being, depending on their current position or their state, they would have the ability or lack the ability to have that occur at a given time. They would be able to achieve that cessation limit of themselves.
或者看啥让了吧，因吧，安尼他真就告诉，忙都写到大习惯，会团结，突然先去，对，现在说哪些现在是吧？忙不下个，忙大就可以去，马上做，安尼，希望让个团结党，是讲了，说给团到直播了，吃的党。让你把些给团款了来呢，切把印章，俺那可以动啊，现在嘛，那样都快得动啊，把穷啊人，那个同忙啊，我今天的我的电机碰不的音吧，快那样都快干，关键就看点吧。 동아단 때만 알아줘서 직장 레디 아니 점점 되지 아니 가수래 치와랑 투어 현지 된 어랑 그 된셔봐 대란 또대 아니 치도 잡아 심지어 탐제기 가수래 현대 바식 쳐봐 인장 미친다 마세 아니 타도 그인데 토바디 중화래是吧 现在忙不下过马的前呢，就个送完那些前呢，现在让你我让做，说那谈到那些就开始准备到那些前呢，按你开始的彻底拼出田野给了田野的，田呢，上来让你就不洗的田野给落的蛮多，啊，现在这边田野接下呢，按你看的给你我的呀。 좀 전에 나신 전에 라나 봐 양다 봐 조회 산제 공반 토야 되다 코 용거 많다 뭐 소한테 정해야
릭세네 릭세
릭세 와봐 가래 타진 친구도 와도 가래를 해서나 다 진주 다 랑비 던제다 두 던제배 니니 잡아 또 셋
So on works then is explained in a verse by in the Bodhicharya Avatar, the introduction to the Bodhisattva's conduct. The verse says that you don't need to talk much about this. The reason this works as the way it does is that childish childish beings work only for their own aims, whereas the sage works only for the aims of others, is only concerned with the aims of others. So, in brief, this is it that some of us are cycling aimlessly in samsara apparently without any, and we're constantly all of the different kinds of suffering, problems, and misery. Whereas the Buddha, for example, has achieved perfect freedom and is completely severed the concept of suffering without residue of it left. What is the difference between the Buddha and those of us who are wandering aimlessly in samsara? Well, the Buddha, whereas we are absorbed only in our own aims, that think only about what is it that pleases us, what is it that is beneficial, pleasurable to us. That kind of is at the root of all of the suffering. Therefore, we suffer as a result of that obsession, concern with self. Whereas the Buddha's completely casting away, abandoning kind of self-concern, self-interest. They instead on the themselves to the benefit of others, and they turned away. They basically reversed, or they reversed their orientation of self-interest to interest in others' aims, and by doing that, we're able to proceed along the path and achieve the perfection of Buddhahood. They do work for others' aims. That's all they do. So the basic difference here between sentient beings is that the Buddhas have taken their lineage within them, such that and then developed that path through concern for others, and then as a process culminating in the achievement of perfection, the perfection of Buddha. This is the same thing, same basic ideas found in that verse in the Guru Puja, where it says that foolish, childish beings think only about themselves. Well, so to explain that verse a little bit, what does it mean? Child usually means like a little child, but here we're childish in the sense that we don't understand what is to be gotten rid of and what is to be. We don't have discrimination to be able to we don't know.
Dona chiwaran de khanadang se gala langdo ji ne mi sheban tabi mi sheba ge nang ani chiwagi nana se gala ani chedi pinzo chedi ani pinzo dang rani de teni gi shiite khona chawala tene da khari chungare sana ne tunga patu me banyang tana khorji ne tunga patu me banyang de da mari bekune langde 두숨지 아니 란주 바당 알아서 차단 그 끝내라는데 아니 동아 때문에 아니 동아 권화 양아 중아래 전화 지와랑도 권하다.
So where it says in children are only think about dreams, that's referring how is it that we're analogous to children? Just as children don't understand what they should do and what they shouldn't do, similarly we don't understand properly what is to be gotten rid of and what's to be taken of the and understanding those essential points, then we in all kinds of negative behavior, which then into a entire cycle of samsaric existence, such that we experience all kinds of suffering and so forth. So this is basically grounded not by the ignorance which misapprehends the self, that kind of grasping at a self which doesn't exist. That serves as a foundation for the mental actions impelled by that or motivated by that, and then the mental afflictions then in turn motivate us to engage in negative behavior, which to suffer endlessly in samsara. And that kind of self-centered attitude is what causes us to suffer in that way, because what we do is we think about that which is on our side, and we don't think about their side, what their aims are, what their desires and such are.
Oh yeah, that one现在把西在把一些个突然的，安尼让人好的，安尼现在我真把了带，安尼他前边三节有恐怕拖把了就话个原来的，安尼去话个安尼当时马里边过来啥的，记住把了带来，东啊把新娘个见的，后面光。大仙节约上把了落过送啊，那先他得的吧。
The Lord of Sages, the Buddha here, is only thinks about others' aims. So in path, the Buddha was the Buddha reversed orientation. Concern about self, such that it became only the opposite, so that it was only interested in the aims of others, and then through that kind of inversion of interest, such that in self-interest one had only other interest, then one practiced the path, and through that kind of practice achieved perfection, is the achievement of both self and others' aims in that way.
Oh yeah.
And so, therefore, the end of the verse says, "Please bless me, please empower me to be able to practice this exchanging self and others."
아니, 말하면서 코아보죠. 아니 가서래 당시 말이 끝나. 아니 지 단지 말이 좀 끝나. 이런 말 때문에 투숨지 동기 샤왕도 초대 아니 애사 아니 동아 빠도 매번 영화 중화지 가를 때는 중화에서나 소당 바태당 내랑 내가 때는 중국에와
So then if we ask then why suffering in samsara, where is this all coming from? It's basically in this grasping at a self, clinging to a false concept of the self, and based upon that kind of false grasping at the false concept of the self, one misapprehends things as and being to us or unpleasant to us, and such that one thirsts after and clings to that which is pleasurable, and gets aversion towards the things that we judge that kind of false discrimination, and then based upon the different kinds of actions, behavior that we engage in, all of those come down to this grasping misconception of the self, and out of that, related with that that grasping at a false conception of a self, is the attitude which cherishes oneself more.
아니 최고전에 뒤왕기 동학이 녀셔버 아니 동아 빠도 매번 용거와데 랑진진대당 가소리 직자했다네 근데 자라 탐제도 코 내봐체 이제 랑전 최대배서 랑그 퇴지 봐라 제 맛이 봐 아니 네가 봐시 배 아니 배 동안 봐시 중화래 여기서 이 자자 탐제도 코완다라 이제 랑전 최대배서가 랑진의这个 所说的判断企业的所说的团大就主要给主要的样个农业样个就下去准备아니 동아 빠시 연구와 총알에
So then it's explained then that this attitude of charity self, where one cherishes oneself in this distorted way, this is this actually the arising of all of the suffering that we've experienced throughout numberless hundreds and hundreds of lifetimes born within samsara. We think that we're going to achieve our own aim by cherishing ourselves and by doing things then that we judge to be but actually by being focused that way and by engaging in that self-cherishing kind of behavior, then actually instead of real pleasure, real happiness arising, all of the different kinds of suffering, the number of forms and the different kinds of so instead of this self-cherishing kind of activity accomplishing our producing happiness, it in fact only produces suffering.
아데 추징 어디서 레디 채월 만주 레디 채월 주주나스 다 이쪽이 랑진진 그당 아닌 직다되긴 다다 되니기 왕도 마당와 저까지 아니 가서 산재주 공방 토벌을 채와제 이나 탑로 점바되지 이나 가지 주진 레디 채월 이 산재주 공방 토비 탑로 점바되지 이나니 산재 편소 되면 봐 산재주 공방 톱니 토바주와 마도 시기 동안 봐도 영화지지 영식 말에 전에 중거에 말에 하고서 가디 최진 어디서 이 체랑이 아니 가서 어디서 제왕 세디 세디당 제왕하면 내가라 아니 랑 당진 대기 왕도 마당와 그러와 아니 토발 채비 공방 토발 채비 탑라 슈와 되지 이나 내 산재주 공방 토발제 마도 단단 내가 안에 내주 도자 된지 용식 말에 소야라 그러와 아주 최진가서 차와 조준 편소 대 많이 봐 산재지 필수소요 공방대 많이 봐기 단단 안에 다디 내가 동아 봐도 매번 중요해 되지 용식 말에
So, comedy. So,
家长他们家都扩完大了，那把钱，写完一半是吧？一节让点钱的，东啊把西主他就挺早钱是吧？他看见确定我的说是提，安尼我们才让我们没推当，我没推说，那人推当，当时马上把这个下网都马当哇，是吧？马当。 안에 산제지 공방 토바제비 남라 점바데지 탑 이나 좋아 안에 산제지 공방 톱 그래 사단의 신기네 수조디 동시에
So if then the verse explanation continues that if I'm not controlling you, that is if I'm not controlled by this grasping a false conception of the self, and if I'm not dominated by or controlled by all of the cherishing, then I will sort of effortlessly be able to accomplish everything that I wish, and I'll be able to easily achieve the perfection of Buddhahood and all of the good qualities associated with it. 다시 말해.
야, 됐어요. 이때서 ngay lao của thì đi đây anh ở đó rồi đây xong là chủ pen đồ thằng người người thông qua đi thì đó.
So this is a thing if we think about it, it's worth thinking because it's beneficial.
근데 인자다 좀 가서래 알아서 감 요아 인상 규제된 자나 아니 창제 인자다 얘기 마 저바 망보 지요와 데레 쉬기다는 팬 인상 이 상자세가나 심전 탐제 창야 심전 탐제 상예와 시 심전 탐제 상마게 是吧？长家wa si，长家，身边他们是长家wa si，上家不嘛应，是吧？嗯。
So we'll be getting to next a lot of arguments about the nature of whether it's possible to achieve Buddhahood, whether sentient beings will achieve Buddhahood, so forth. Down to whether or not a
상계 버시 상마게 스라데 고개도와
상갸스나
마음만나시래 와
상계 톱기래
상계 톱기래 상갸그래
so this is whether all will obtain Buddhahood, whether they can obtain Buddhahood, whether it's possible for them to achieve Buddhahood, and then or whether they have the ability to achieve Buddhahood.
인자 와 타전에 와 거기 타 심전 탐제 상갸그래 심전 탐제 상계버 쓰기래 상계버 쓰기래.
So we say that then Sara has in that all sentient beings will become Buddhas, that it is possible for all sentient beings to be Buddhas, to become. There's no sentient being that cannot become. So what reason for why is it that sentient beings can become Buddhas and will become Buddhas? The reason for this is that the mind is naturally pure. So we'll say then that is if the mind is not naturally pure, then we would have to say that the mind is established by own intrinsic identity or is truly established in that way. And if that's the case, then we would have to say within things that exist, objects of knowledge, it is possible for something to truly exist intrinsically. And then if it was the case that phenomena could be existing intrinsically or established by their own intrinsic existence, then it would be the case that all phenomena are not empty of intrinsic existence, are not empty of being real. And if it's the case then that all phenomena, if you cannot establish through valid cognition, are devoid of intrinsic existence, then you would not be able to establish or present the ultimate truth within the two truths. If you say that if you can't establish ultimate truth, if it's not something that's determinable through valid cognition, you are able to also establish the cause and effect relationships, causality, and karma and its results and such. And if you can't establish that, then there's no way to establish or four realities of suffering and so forth. This is just like explains in verse in the verses away by Nagarjuna, where he says things were not empty, then establish truths and a cause and effect. This is saying that if things were not empty, not devoid of essence or intrinsic existence, then cause be able to give rise to their effects, such that, for example, virtuous actions would give rise to happiness. Negative actions would give rise to similarly, practice of the path would not give rise to cessation of suffering. None of those things would be possible if they were not empty. Able to establish then that So if you can, on the other hand, establish that the mind is of intrinsic existence, then you can demonstrate that the defilements have not entered into are not a part of the nature of the mind. They're not. They are not of the mind. So this would then establish that the defilements they're not established within as the nature of the mind. Then therefore the mind is such that it's suited to become purified of these defilements. And if you've been able to establish all of this, then you can say that even though the mind can be in a state in which it's accompanied by the mental affliction, defilements, they can be together with the mind. It's not the case that these mental afflictions, defilements, and such are actually of the nature of the mind. They're not the intrinsic nature or of the mind. Even though by virtue of we've established then that the defilements are advantageous, that is, they're not of the nature of the mind, but they are such that the mind can be separated from them. The mind has that quality of being having the defilements separable from it. Even though one has established that, then So for that reasoning, that even you've established that the defilements are such that they are suitable to be separate from the mind, but nevertheless it requires some kind of antidote to effect that separation, to the removal of the mind. Someone could come back and say, well, even if you've established all of that, there's no determined that you haven't actually determined that the antidote is able, or that one can use the antidote to remove the defilements from the mind. So then in order to establish that you can determine the way the antidote is able to destroy the defilements from the mind, then one has to utilize reasoning which follows from a sequence of reasons that follow after that. And so then we get 5 things which are relatively easy. So a sequence through which one goes through the reading. So has to reject the position that it's impossible to give to the antidote within one's continuum. One has to reject the position. No. Does anyone know where we are in the commentary? So then the reason, then you say, is there no method for destroying the defilements within the continuums of sentient beings? That's a question. Or you say that, then you would say, or that even though there is a method, there's no one that knows that method. Or you say, well, is it the case then, even though that there understand that it's impossible that for strive towards that kind of to ever occur? And then we would say, well, to that person then, well, even if it is possible to rise to that kind of interest in engaging in that path at some point or another, is it impossible that a person that understands that method, who would act as a teacher, motivated by compassion, is that impossible? Then we would say to them, but it is possible that there is such a teacher that would teach that kind of method. Then is it impossible that that someone would engage in that method, by having engaged in that method, would condition themselves to it? We say the first kind of possibility is illogical, or is not established by reason, and the first one being that all sentient beings, that there's no method to destroy the stains in the continuums of sentient beings. The reason it's not that's not rational, reasonable, is that through conditioning oneself, habituating oneself to the wisdom that realizes selflessness, then it's possible to extinguish all of the defilements. That's the reason that's not.
That's right.
Oh, yes.
Understand?
Yes. So that's the antidote then, that it exists.
추시를 세대 덤바 요아래 탑시와 수레에서나 sem쟁이들도 다음에 또 침박이 아니 덤바 와 덤바 예상 탑지시야 수야매 말에 시와 요아래.
The second position also, second position is illogical or irrational because even though there's a method that there might be that knows it, that's illogical because the teacher who has completed has gone to the end of conditioning themselves. That realizes selflessness, that method of realizing the method is conditioning oneself to the one that realizes selflessness for the aims of sentient beings. Such a teaching has been properly established through reason.
탑텔라 되니 나야 깨와 미스바 말에 되니 나야 깨와 말에 되니 깨래 요아 가르래서나 상제남지다 구와라 상제기 조상군이 초지당 상제기 틀려 때네 온도라 되니 마집이 섬제 미스.
So now position also, or quant is also irrational because that even though someone who knows that it's impossible for somebody to ever give rise to interest in that or to that. That's also logical because based on the inducement of here, the inducement is referring to is as word in the verse above where it says that
아니 마집이 섬제 미스바가래에서나 온도 삼마기 삼미 공부 토마님바기 섬제 자와니 메아래 온도 삼미 공부 토바기 마도베 섬제 자와니 메바 인상 삼미 토바라 온도 삼미 공부 되니 그 어제니 아마 토베치 아니 교수님 남바 사발라서 송말하잖아요 전거로 와.
So we know that that's not the case. Because based upon the motivated by the Buddha, and this is referring back to the verse where it says that the emanation bodies and such are those bodies are emitted by the perfect body of the Buddha. That's referring to based upon those bodies being emanated and appearing, sentient beings. Times will develop a understanding how it is that one achieves a higher status of rebirth in the upper realms as a human, God, and so forth. And based upon that understanding, they at times give rise to the wish to the interest in achieving that higher status, and then actually engage in that. To that higher status and actually do that. If that was not the case, then it would obtain that we would not see sentient beings that achieve that kind of status of human and God earth.
마지바 인가 있나 섬전 당 마지바게 섬전 되돌아야 내가 그러는 게 타발아 되니 그로 마지바 레데 다야 그래서 섬랑신진 타바 랑신진 에리 태당 섬딘도 안 섬지 사변 연구를 니단 담바 인상 음식네 담바탕 들어와 내 가르로 사나 타바티니 그로 찍고 와 dembi치당서 아니 준전대 지자.
So then, likewise, another reason establishing this is that even though for the being, we would say that a sentient being may not have given rise to interest in achieving the infinite goodness of liberation. All sentient beings, the lineages of Buddha, all of them have that. These two lineages here are referring to the naturally existing within as the developmental lineage. Those two exist within the minds. Within the minds of sentient beings or can beings. The latter, the developmental lineage, so being referred of the contaminated state or uncontaminated seed.
미치당 윤전 직체 아니 섬전 가서를 섬전 탐제가 와 섬전 탐제 동아지나 왜 초리 매봐 단계지 공부라 거봐 시야바기 아니 섬전 저와 투지 전부 냠바 매봐 아니 좀 된다 와 인은 인장 리식지네 아니 코와를 이중당 냥대를 되니고 로
Nimji. So another reason here for establishing this that the Buddhas possess a compassion which wishes to establish all sentient beings in the status of Buddha. And that compassion is without any kind of deterioration. Because of that, because of possessing that compassion, they
섬전 탐제 산제지 공방라 공부 거발 시바기 아니 섬전 탐제 반년반 매방 아와 인장 뒤를 식지나 아니 산제 대달기 투지 주비建议 아니 코와라 이중당 냥대라 되 뒤를 식지나 남식 나와서 하지마나 뒤 나와서
the Buddhas possess this kind of compassion, which is impartial. That is not partial towards, not directed towards other sentient beings, and because that compassion is without any kind of deterioration, it's possible for at some time for sentient beings to give rise to renunciation of samsara, the wish to get out of samsara, and likewise which the interest in achieving nirvana.
아니다. 신나 개월 추와대. 라 가서래 섬전 탐제라 산제지 공부하는 거바 시비 투진년반 명아. 아니 리시지나 코와라 내준다. 아니 안될라 전에 개월 추와대. 대두지 고고. 나 다르바 리바 시바 거야 말이야. 다들 좀 된데 그 농라 되네. 라 내숨 내숨 반이 포하니 다 뭐 바탕 들가로 지당 그거 숨 되죠 알아 중사 고주 고시 샤샤 원주 아람지 라 통왕 원주 아니 중사 고주 신도 고주 전에 아니 샤샤네 숨 두세요 이 말이야.
So how do we establish that that the Buddhas have that kind of compassion, and therefore that at some point in time, by the force of that compassion, then that sentient beings give rise to renunciation and interest in seeking nirvana. This has to be established through through a reasoning which determines faultless scriptural instructions by means of the three sorts of analysis, by establishing that by some kind of reason based upon that, one establishes that. Here the three kinds of reasoning are referring to how that objects, things which are knowable, are subdivided into three types. That is, there are certain things which we can know through perception, which are obvious senses. There are other kinds of things which are more hidden, which have to be determined through inference. That is, through some kind of reasoning and inference to establish their existence. And then there are extremely hidden kinds of topics, objects of knowledge, which can be established through relying upon some kind of instruction through the scriptures and so forth, the explanations, which, and they in turn, those instructions have to be determined to be valid through a special kind of reasoning of its own. So the first of these kinds of things are things we can see through perception. These don't, to establish the existence of these things, to determine them, we don't have to engage in some kind of process of reasoning. We see them directly with our own eyes and so forth.
아니 균쟁이 삼비권에 또 리바이지야 리바 양다치 삼비권에 아니 또 거야 될 롱래 샴바키 너무 많이 바키 너무 균쟁이 양다치 삼비권에 또 거야 진지지대 아니 중사 고주 습관.
And then things that are they're called slightly hidden objects, or that are slightly hidden. Those are things which, apart from the things which are expressed in the scriptures and so forth, these are things which we can determine the existence of and the nature and such of these things by means of engaging in valid forms of reasoning, proper kinds of inference, and through thought. By thinking about them properly, we can determine their existence.
다 대제라 리바 된데기 모두 리바들이 원래시비 리바 대다 좀 믿어봐 농대지 송균전 전에 죽고야 된줄라 신도는 꼭주 세 농래 되는 내가 지게 되라.
Other kinds of things which even relying upon valid forms of reasoning, which have been explained in the scriptures and so forth, following that kind of process to that is adequate to determine the slightly hidden things. There are other kinds of things which are extremely hidden, and those are inaccessible to the valid forms of reasoning which are have in the scriptures. Rather, you have to rely upon the instructions of the scriptures themselves.
Then
in terms of the instructions of the scriptures, those themselves have to be determined, validated through special through three kinds of investigation or analysis, that the scripture can be accurate as it is, or can be understood pure as it is.
아니 남들 반배 취지 잡아가 가서 통담마동고 전대다라 무슨다 예수 바바는 메메티니 밀어가고 전에 소환하신 전에 동고 세가라 통왕원주 와 아니 마동우스나 마동와 신도 고주 통담마 전대 신도 고주 통다 마동 오보이 전대 달아서 통원주당 아니 마동 된바 태공주 고주 된바 대라 전대 달아 무슨 참는데 봐 아니 중사 고주 된바 차라 무슨 참는데 봐봐 아니 가서 뭐도 제박이네 봐봐 땜비 전대라 참아 숨진네 봐봐 고사 통당 마동 고사 통왕 원주 마동 고주 통당 마동 뭐이 안에 들어도나.
So how do we understand then scripture been purified or established correct through the three kinds of investigation, three kinds of analysis? The way you do that is through, first of all, you have to understand, there's a verse in the valid cognition by the master Dharmakirti. And in that text it said that that which is seen, the first part of the verse goes, which is seen and not seen. Those two things, seen here is referring to again the obvious kinds of phenomena, things you can see with perception, which you can perceive directly with your senses and so forth, and then the seen things refers to the slightly hidden things which have to be validated through inference, determined inference.
전대 달랑 무슨당 제수 바바 남니지 내메테니 밀바오 세가 통원주 때문에 차라 무슨 차면에 밤에 봐 중사 고주 때문에 차라 모두 제 밤에 봐 신도 고주 때문에 차라 이제 제가 근데 밤에 봐 이제 제가 용을 때는 게 잡아더라 이제 제가 근데 밤에 봐대 다 밀루가래 슈대 가서 Lunde tendela milu tendiri. Lunde ke tempi tendela milu
milua. A scriptural instruction, or scripture is not so good. An instruction, which is how you determine that it's undeceptive, and it's to be undeceptive. First of all, you have to determine that the instruction is such that it's not contradicted by, or contradicted by a valid cognition that you've achieved through like perception. Second, be such that it's invalidated or contradicted by something which you've been able to establish through inference. The third standard for establishing a scripture as deceptive would be it's not it doesn't contradict an instruction is that has confidence in la yichi
jebaki never meba
jebaki
jeba sna lungjunjala jeba chamadela jeba.
So then this third standard criterion for the instruction being valid or undeceptive is that that the instruction cannot be contradicted by or invalidated by an inference based on a reliable instruction, a source which isn't a reliable instruction. We'll stop there.